I made an ad with AI in just a couple of hours, and I'm about to show you the entire process from start to finish. So Coca-Cola, for the second year in a row, released an ad generated entirely with AI. And earlier this week at ElevenLabs, we officially launched our full suite of image and video generation tools, allowing you to create any AI asset you need in one place. So you can now generate voice, sound, and music, as well as image and video, and then do all of the upscaling and editing you need. So today, you're going to learn how to make AI ads with ElevenLabs. And now, to kick it off, let's start with storyboarding. Storyboarding is essential to any AI ad or film that you end up creating because it all begins with the idea, and you need to make sure you structure that idea into a good story. And now, it's always great to lead with your own idea and then afterwards use an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude to go back and forth on a few ideas. And so that's what I did for this ad. I had this idea of little Robo 11, which is a little robot, being alone for Christmas, finishing a shift at work, going home, and on his way home, he goes past Santa's hut, and then he ends up meeting Santa, so he's no longer alone for Christmas. And so here I wrote out the storyline and I structured it into 4 clear scenes. The first one where he's leaving work, the second one where he's alone in the snow, the third one when he sees Santa's grotto, and then the fourth one where he actually ends up meeting Santa after Santa opens the doors. So it's a very, very short story, but the fact that I've structured it out makes it a lot easier to then go ahead and create. And as you can see here in Figma, for each one I put a quick title, the duration that I think this scene should be, and then also a very short description so I can quickly know what type of scene I need to create. And it's also good to add things like the mood, the lighting, what happens in the actual scene, and also if there is dialogue. And for this scene, I actually decided to have a voiceover, so I didn't really need dialogue, but I did want to write out my voiceover. And now some ads have characters where they speak, some have solely a voiceover narrating the entire thing, and some ads like the Coca-Cola Christmas ad only has music. And this is actually very important to decide early on, as it's going to determine your workflow. Because if you have dialogue, you then need to make sure that you lip sync with either VidFabric or OmniHuman to your character. So you need to generate the character and the audio. If you have a voiceover for the entire thing, you can actually start by generating the entire voiceover first, so you know what the duration of each scene should be to match it up with the voiceover. And so once you've figured out the structure, the outline, and the story for your ad, and also if you're using voiceover, dialogue, or just music, you can then move on to the prompting. And now when it comes to prompting, the first thing you need to do is actually choose the model. And for this project, I actually ended up choosing Seedream for Google Nano Banana and Google Veo 3.1 for the video generation because it's perfect for this kind of animated style that we were creating. And when it comes to actually generating the video, I recommend trying to stay with the same model as much as possible because there is differentiations in terms of the style and the quality you get. And so the more consistent the look and feel of your AI ad, the better the overall quality of the final product. And before we get to the visuals, it's often best to start with the audio and build a soundbed of voice and music to your content first. This way, like we mentioned, you know the pacing and how many scenes and how long some of your video generations need to be. And so for the voiceover that narrates my video, this is the text. And first of all I did was choose a voice from the voice library that I think sounded and matched the tone of Christmas. And here I chose Grandpa Spud's Oxley because I feel like it sounded a little bit like Father Christmas, but there are also some Christmas voices in here. I just preferred this one for the overall feel of my ad. I then chose the 11v3 model because this is actually the most expressive text-to-speech model, and it's what allows us to input audio tags into our script. And so as you can see here, these purple words between brackets are the audio tags. And so it essentially allows me to customize the delivery of my voice. And this allows me to get the feel for my ad just right. And so at the beginning, I add warm because I want this to be like a warm narration, right? It's Christmas. We want this like warm and cozy feel. And then we've got gentle because I want the line to be delivered in a gentle manner. We've got joyful just before he does ho, ho, ho. So it sounds, joyful. And then magical whisper right here because I want the last line at Santa's grotto to be whispered. And then once I've done all of this, it was as simple as clicking generate speech. And then I get a couple of different options.
This season brings us closer. Christmas is for sharing smiles, stories, and a little everyday magic.
And so as you can see, I could then simply go and download it, but if I wanted to regenerate or adjust or modify the delivery with the audio tags, I could go ahead and do that and regenerate as many times as I need. And then for the music, I simply clicked on music right here and I described the Christmas song that I wanted for my ad. And here I simply typed out joyful Christmas music, melodic bells, but you can actually be much more descriptive than that. If you have a clear vision and you know the exact musical scale you want it to be and what instruments you want to have in your music, you can also put that into your prompt. But then I just chose the length, and my ad was quite short, so I chose 30 seconds. I've got 2 variations of the song that are going to be generated, and then I wanted this to be an instrumental because we already have a voice narrating over the music. So I do that, and then I click generate, and then it's the same as the text-to-speech. I downloaded the one I want. And then once I have my voiceover and music, I went to click on Studio, and we simply created a new blank video project. And here I imported both those audio files by clicking Imports and selecting Upload. And now this is the beginning of my AI ad without the visuals. Let's take a listen.
This season brings us closer. Christmas is for sharing smiles, stories, and a little everyday magic.
And so as you can see, we now have the entire audio bed with the voiceover and music for our ad. And it's actually very important to get this right, because this is what really helps convey the emotion that you're trying to convey within your ad. And that's what makes a good ad. It's the emotion that you evoke in the viewer. And now that we have the audio tracks for our ad, we can go ahead and create the visuals and generate them using AI to line up with the voiceover and music, and then stitch them all together in Studio. And I do want to mention that you can directly generate the video within Studio by clicking on the video right here and then prompting to create the video that you need. And this is where we are going to create our character, create the scenes, and turn all of those into videos. So for creating the visuals, like we mentioned earlier on in the video, it's important to establish the overall style before anything else. And to do so, to build a unified look across your scenes and your prompts, what I do is I usually describe the kind of look I'm going for to ChatGPT or Claude, and then I ask them for a custom style prompt that I can include in all my future generations. And so if I wanted something that looked a little bit animated and had a CGI feel, that's literally what I would ask, and these are the types of prompts I would get back. It's as simple as that. Asking LLMs is a great way to get better prompts in seconds. And the great thing is that you can then go ahead and customize these and tweak these to your liking to get the exact result that you're looking for. When you have the custom style prompt and you know the overall look and feel you want for your ad, you can then move on to creating the characters. And in this video, I actually have 2 characters, but only one of them is a consistent character I need across all of the scenes. So this is the only one that I actually spent a lot of time creating. And so here I had imagined this cute little cube-like robot with little tank tires and then some big eyes. Essentially, I described what I wanted to ChatGPT. I then took the previous custom style prompts that I also just created using ChatGPT or Claude, and I pasted both those in and told me to give a character prompt back that I could then give to an image generator. And this is the exact prompt I got. As you can see, it starts off with a small box companion robot with a worn metal body and a soft pastel tones. He has the number 11 on his chest because this is what I described. I'm calling him Robo 11. And then I simply take this and I paste it into the prompt box within Image and Video on ElevenLabs. And the model I chose to generate my character was Seedream 4. And then I like to generate 4 variants at a time, just because you often have to generate multiple times, and it's just a quicker way to generate and find the character you need. So here I simply click generate. And so this is the final result of what my character looked like. And then once I've got the final character, I simply want to go ahead and click on Upscale image, and then I just want to upscale it to 4K so I have the highest quality version of the character that I've just created, because we're going to then consistently use this one as a reference for all of the future scenes, and I want the highest quality reference possible. And now a quick trick that I actually learned not too long ago about how to get even more consistent characters across scenes is to create a character board of all of the different angles of your character. And you can do this very easily using Google's Nano Banana. And so here in the prompt box, I would go and change the model to Google's Nano Banana, and then I would drag the upscaled image that we've just upscaled with Topaz and use it as the reference. And now the prompt we'll use is this one on screen right here, and we're also going to put it down in the description below. But we'll simply take this, paste it, and then here I'm going to choose 4 variations again, just so I don't have to click generate multiple times, and then we click send. And so here, as you can see, Nano Banana has generated a clean looking reference board of our character from multiple different angles. And this is actually super useful. And you could even go and take this a step further. We could then download this, and then we could input a quick title for each of the images. And so when we upload this, we could underneath this one be like back view, 45-degree angle view, front facing view. And And then when we use this image as a reference in our future scenes, if we actually reference the exact title of a tile, it will then allow us to reference a specific part of this reference board and basically make it super easy and fast to get consistent looking results of our character. And so this, if you haven't done it before, I highly recommend doing it. Super useful. And the cool thing is if we wanted to make a quick change to our character with this reference board, it's actually a lot faster because we can drag in the reference board as a reference image. We could then say, add a Christmas hat to all of the robots. You want to mention that it's to all of the characters, and then you prompt. And here again, we're using Nano Banana. And as you can see, we now have a very similar reference board of our character with a Christmas hat on. And I also do want to mention that anytime you make changes like this with Nano Banana, you want to go ahead and upscale again afterwards because the output resolution isn't 4K and it isn't even as high as Seedream 4. And so to create all of these visuals here for my storyboard, if we actually take a look at the prompts, you can see that they were all made with ChatGPT, and I simply put small boxy robot wearing a Christmas hat with the number 11 on his front, and then we describe the image and the scene. And this again was all done with ChatGPT. And the reason I mention small boxy robot wearing a Christmas hat is to keep the consistency. And every time I would basically take this full prompt, use the panel board as a reference, and then generate with Seedream 4, and then upscale it once I found a result I like. And then I would bring it into this Figma board right here. And so I rinsed and repeat the process for every single one. And so now I've actually got the 4 scenes for my ad. And you'll notice that here we've got the character from a different angle. And I managed to get this looking this consistent because again, we used the reference board. And just to show you, there are other ways to do it. So for example, I originally took this image that I had generated with Seedream 4, and I said, I want the same robot view from the back. But you'll notice that he was a bit blue and pink here just because he's blue and pink here from the lighting of this actual shot. And so I then had to prompt him to ask it to be a little bit more gray. But here you'll notice that then he's not actually like the same color as the original one from the reference board. But both ways work. It's just using the character reference board is much faster. And so now all I need to do is turn these 4 images into videos. And to do that, it's very simple. For example, let's take this one here. This is going to be the start frame to the second scene. And to turn it into a video, it's as simple as going to ElevenLabs image and video. I want to make sure that I select video generation this time. Here we're going to select the model that I want to use, and for all of this I used Veo 3.1 from Google, and then I simply drag the scene in as a start frame, and below that I used the prompt robot with a Christmas hat slowly rolls through the snow and then slowly stops with a small Christmas hut in the background. He then turns just his head and looks at it. I made sure to change the resolution to 1080p, and then I also like to generate at least 6 seconds, just so I have a little bit of room to trim the beginning and the end, because sometimes what I want to keep is right in the middle or it's only at the end. And so it just gives you a little bit more room to play around with. And then I like to do 2 generations at a time with Veo 3, and then we click generate. And so as you can see, we've now got 2 generations from Veo 3.1. And if we take a look, there we have our first video. And so essentially I would go through and prompt as many times until I find the exact video I like, or I know there's a video where I want to keep part of it. And once I found the one I like, I then go ahead and click upscale video. But for the final scene to go from this shot to this shot, I actually use start and end frames. And to do that, it's very simple as well. As well as uploading the start frame, we also then go and upload the end frame. So now we're telling Google Veo 3 that it needs to transition from the first one to the second one. And this time the prompt was the following: the doors open, revealing Santa's big red legs and his big black boots. In the background, there's presents and a cozy living room fire. The robot raises his arms, then quickly hugs Santa's boot. And then again, make sure that I do at least 6 seconds. I generate at 1080p and 2 variations, and then hit send. And once again, I'll prompt as many times as I need to, and then I'll upscale the one that I want to keep. And as you can see, we've got the 2 generations here, and let's just take a look at one. And there we go. And that generation was a little weird because the robot jumps instead of actually rolling, but that could be something I then go and include into the prompt when I iterate on the next generation. Instead of saying the robot hugs the boot, I could say the robot rolls up to the boot and hugs it. right? And so I would iterate on the prompt. And to quickly change that, I would just simply click on the prompt, and then I could click on the start and end frame again, and then I could go and make that change in the prompt. But then once we've got it, we're then going to go into the studio project where we added the music and voiceover earlier, and then we can go and click on video, and here we have all of our previous video generations, and we can simply go and click on the plus button to import those into our project, and then we would import all of the videos that we've previously generated. And once you've imported all of your generations, you could then go and trim them in the timeline. You can go and rearrange them and kind of place them wherever you like. And this is why I like to add a few extra seconds to my generations, just so I've got room to play with and match up perfectly with the music and voiceover. And now let me go to the project where I finished creating this video ad. And so as you can see here, this is the final project where I've added in all of the video generations. At the bottom, we've got the music, we've got the voiceover, and I've also added in some sound effects. And the way I did that was simply prompting ElevenLabs inside of Studio. And to do that, you simply click on sound effects and then describe the sound effect you want. And so here you can actually see each different prompt that I've put for the sound effects in the timeline. So I've got big boot footsteps when Santa opens the door. We've also got door knock. We've got big wooden doors opening. We've got little electric motor. And then you could simply go and click on the plus button to add any of them to the timeline. And this is the final product.
This season brings us closer. Christmas is for sharing smiles, stories, and a little everyday magic. Everyone deserves a glow of warmth and wonder. Ho, ho, ho! Come share the Christmas spirit at Santa's Grotto.
And so that is how to make an AI ad with ElevenLabs. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.